Hey you guys, thank you for being here. So I have my camera reversed, so I'm working on this side of the camera, but we're gonna make a really cool Valentine's Day 3-dimensional heart today. And what I've done is I have baked 2 cakes in a Pyrex bowl, and if you look close you can really tell that that's a Pyrex bowl. What we're going to be using today is 2 chocolate cakes. We're going to need some ganache, and you're going to need a heart-shaped cutter, large or small, depending on how you want to make your heart. I'm going to make ours a little bit larger. And then you're going to need a variety of tools. So you're going to need a sharp knife, a palette knife, and a straight palette knife, and maybe a sharp paring knife. You're going to need some fondant, whatever brand fondant you want to use. I'll be using Wilton Red and Wilton White. So, and I've pre-made our cake board. And I'll show you that. So this is our cake board that I've pre-made, and I just marbled some red and white fondant, and if you look close you can see I did little impressions of hearts, and this is just setting up for right now. So it's a little bit soft. I just made it. Very easy to make. Just put it on your cake drum, and you could make it all red, all white. You could do your cake base any way you want, or your cake board rather. So we're going to get started here, and I'm roughly going to be hand carving our hearts, only because I don't have a great big heart cutter. So, and I'm hoping that this, the way that I'm recording will work okay for you guys. So just keep in mind, again, I'm on this side of the camera, and you're watching from that side. So I'll just give it a little bit more of an adjustment. There we go. So we're going to be doing 1/2, and I'll just unwrap this guy. And we want to take these 2 halves and put them together. So we want to do something similar to a circle or a ball. So these I baked in the Pyrex bowl, and then I flipped them out flat so I didn't have to do too much leveling. So you might have to level yours a tiny bit if they're not completely flat, or you can just flip it over and it will show you how much you might need to be trimming. So if you see closely there, you can see little gaps. So I'm just going to trim this one a tiny bit. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is just make a template for the heart, and this is really simple, and I'm just using a piece of see-through cloth. You can use anything. You can use parchment paper, whatever you happen to have on hand. And I'm going to go ahead and fold this guy in half. And our cake was 6 inches across, so I'm just using this lid as a reference. So this is going to be the guideline that I'm going to be working off of to carve this cake. So, and it's a neat little way for me to do it because this being a cloth, I can really kind of just move it and kind of hold it down flat. So it's something that you could think about if you are new to sculpting cakes. So it's just an option. Okay, so we're going to move along now to step 3. Okay, you guys, so this is the next part where we're going to start shaping and finishing up the sculpting part. So I've had the cakes chilling in the freezer for about 30 minutes. Just grab a paper towel here. And they're nice and firm. And now we're going to start sculpting. So now I can move the cake around a little bit more and show you exactly how I want this template to work. So one really neat point is that if you use the cloth or even paper, it almost goes down to the line or the seam. So we want to keep in mind when we start carving that this cake is actually going to be standing up on its end like this, okay? And the template is going to be used like this. So this is what we're going for. And how I'll be doing this is I'm going to start sculpting it or carving it, but I'm going to be doing it down this way. So I'm looking down at it this way, and I will turn it back for you guys from time to time so you can see. Let me just grab my paring knife here. And start with a small paring knife. And I'm just checking to make sure that I'm even on both sides. So right now I really just want to put a line and just trace the top part here. And if you notice, as that cloth template, it really gives us a good guideline, and it helps because it's a little more flexible. So I'm going there, and then I'm kind of just following the line on the sides, just so I get a guideline here. And you know, you can use any knife to do this with. You can use a skewer even, but make sure your cake is nice and cold. So now I've taken this off, and I've got a good outline of where the cake is, the heart is rather. So I can see that good. I know you guys probably can't see it super good from this angle of the camera. But now I'm just going to gently start carving it, because I'm going to do one side and then I'm going to go do the other. So I'm just going to start at the point. And if you want, you can keep your template on to kind of help guide you. And I'm just going to keep that there, just because, you know, the line is somewhat easy to see, but it's until you get going, I guess maybe because it's chocolate cake. So, and I'm not cutting deep, guys. I'm kind of going to be going at an angle here. So I want to get the top started. And I'm just going to start carving off small pieces in the triangle part. And I'm being real careful not to cut too much away, because I'm going to need to do this on both sides. So once we get it started, it will go a little bit easier. So I have kind of the top here, and I'm just going to very carefully do a little bit on the bottom. And again, I'm being careful not to cut too much off. And if you do take a little too much off to begin with, don't worry too much, because you can always kind of add pieces back on with your ganache. So, because now I want to flip the cake over and do the same thing on the other side. So it looks kind of funny right now. See that? But now I want to do the other side. So I'm going to line my template up with the point, because this is the bottom. And I'm just going to line this guy back up, because I can see the bottom from the other side. And I'm just going to check both sides here to make sure that I am about the same distance from our seam. And you can measure if you want, but keep in mind it doesn't have to be exact, because you can do your fills and a little bit at a time. So, and if you're not real comfortable with carving, it does take a few times. So I guess the best advice I could give you with that would be just to take little bits at a time. And it's easier to, you know, cut more than it is to add. So I'm just going to go right in here. And I'm trying not to use a sawing motion, but chocolate's sticky and the ganache is sticky, so if you keep cleaning your knife each time, it will slide through your cake a lot better. So I'm getting a good guideline now. I'm starting to see a little bit better of a shape. And I keep wiping my knife. And I'm on my tippy toes. I'm on my tippy toes just looking at the whole top of this cake right now. So now I want to start and work on our sides a little bit. And now I'm kind of just stepping away. I'm back on my flat part of my feet, and now I'm really just, I'm cutting to the template, but not right up to the template. So I'm not going too wide. And also, I'm not doing a two-dimensional. I really want to do a three-dimensional all the way around heart. Kind of a heart that looks like a bubble, maybe. You know? Kind of gives you an idea of what I'm going for. So, now I'm going to take the template off. And it still looks kind of unusual right now. I'll show you. But this is what we're going for. So, if you can see, I've got a nice thick heart. It'll be a nice thick heart. And we're going to just slowly start smoothing it out now. Okay, you guys, so we're moving on to the ganache part. And the best way for me to do this particular cake design is to start with the point. We're going to start with the bottom of the cake first. And I'm just, I'm shaping as I go here. And I put it back in the freezer for a few minutes. And now I'm going to go ahead and start adding our ganache. Learning this together, and I need something quite heavy. We'll try a hammer. Okay, so let me just see. So now it looks good. Now it's not digging in to that ganache, other than it being at an angle, and that's what I want. Because I want our cake to kind of be sitting at the side. Off to the side a little bit. Alright, so this is going to go in the fridge, and then when I come back after this sets up in about 20 minutes, we will start working on the finishing steps, and we'll be working with the fondant. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. I've had our cake chilling for about, I'd say about an hour. And let me just get my gloves on here real quick. So, and it's firmed up nice. Something just went rolling onto the floor. So if you look, you can see I have a small spot here that's going to be our base. Just trying to get some of this stuff out of the way here. So our cake is going to sit just like that, at a little bit of an angle. And then we're going to dowel it once we get it on our cake board. So our next step is going to be covering it with fondant. So I'm going to be using red fondant. I'm just going to move him out of the way for a minute and get my fondant warmed up. And I'm just using Wilton Fondant Red. I'll grab that. And you guys can make your cake or your heart any color you want. Totally up to you. You can do any patterns. There's no limit to what you can do as far as the way that your cake looks. So I'm just going to wrap it up a little bit and put it in my microwave. Turn my heater off so I don't blow my breaker. And I'll put it in for about 20 seconds because my shop's very cold. I know it's going to be 60 tomorrow. It's chilly out right now. And then I'm going to be using, let me just get my shortening. I'm going to be using some shortening. And I'm going to make a tiny little cake board too for the base of our cake, just to keep it, just to keep it nice and stable on our cake board. Set your cake down, and you could get a pen or a marker, and you could trace right along the bottom. Can't see perfectly how I'm doing, but kind of gives me an idea. Fondant, and again, I keep forgetting to bring out my tape measure. It's quite long, and it's a seamstress tape, so I could give you some easy points on how to get a measurement. So, but I don't have that out here. It's in my house. I had to measure my daughter for something, and I keep forgetting to bring it out. So I'm just going to go ahead and roll out a good sized piece of fondant. We will get our cake uncovered and see how it looks. And we'll get that cake board on it. And we're going to do some more smoothing. So now I want to go ahead and put that piece right on there. And you know what? I'll even put a little extra ganache on this just to help hold it. My ganache is getting quite cold. I don't know if I can do this with one hand or not. There we go. I'm holding the cake with one hand, and so let's see. We went this way. Nope, it was this way. Okay. Let me get all this off. I'm just going to check the base again. I want to give that a minute to set up. It's not going to hold it right now, but you definitely want your cake on something, so I would suggest that. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab a skewer, and it'll only hold into that little piece of cardboard for right at the moment, but it will be a good help. And then we will secure it well, where I put my hammer. We will secure it well after we get it on the cake board. So I'm just sinking that right in. I have to trim this off. It's just a little too long to be hammering. I think what I might do, I might just go ahead and put this right on the cake board and just sink the dowel down in there. And then I'll just put the fondant on So that way I don't have too many problems with it moving around. So now that skewer that I just used is going right through into the cake board. I'm just going to grab a couple more, maybe 1 or 2 more. And you'll know if it goes all the way through because you will hear it go all the way through. 1, 2, and I just don't want these dowels to be seen, so I'm trying to be quite careful about where I'm placing them, and I want them to go through both of the cake boards. There we go. So now it's on there really well. So I'm just going to trim these right off. I'm actually going to give them a push right down in there. And I'm going to have to switch my gloves here in a minute because chocolate gets everywhere. So just wipe off my cutters here. But first I'm just going to go through and just check it and see if there's some spots that, that I might need to just touch up. Because ganache is very messy. I definitely don't want chocolate on my board. So I'm just going to cut these 2 in half. Do 1 on one side and 1 on the other. In my freezer for a couple minutes. So I'm just going to go ahead and start adding some ganache here. And I'm just going to go ahead and unroll the fondant that I have wrapped up in the saran wrap. That was how I could keep it from drying out so I didn't have to re-roll it. So I'm going to go ahead I'm going to go this way. I'm going to go lengthwise on it. Hopefully that's enough. I need to go a tiny bit this way. Maybe even a tiny bit more. There we go. And a little chocolate on my hands. I don't want chocolate on my fondant, so I'm just checking my gloves. So, but if you look close down in here, I cut it a little too shy, so I can actually see the ganache. So, but other than that, it looks really good. So I'll probably make some simple roses to put in through here. So the next thing I'm going to do is just put a ribbon around our cake board. I'm just incorporating some shortening into this brush. Just so I can tuck right in there. And again, this doesn't, you don't taste anything, so you don't have to worry about that. But we do want this to look kind of shimmery. And, you know, it still will, when it starts to come to temperature, it will get its own shine to it. Or you can go ahead and steam it if you have a steamer. Steamer would work good too. And you can also go ahead and add somebody's name to it in the front if you wanted to. Really customize it for that special someone. You know, put their name or their initials. Just keep in mind if you were going to use like some Rolcom gold or silver and you wanted to hand paint on it, that you wouldn't want to do this step. You wouldn't want to put any shortening on it, because once you add the shortening, you're not going to be able to put really anything over that shortening. No hand painting. You won't really be able to airbrush it. So skip this step if you wanted to add like a letter or something to the front. I just like it because it's, you know, it's shiny. It looks, you know. And yes, go ahead and keep it in the refrigerator. It's not going to hurt it any. Let's see how this looks. I'm just coming over here by the camera. Oh yeah, that looks awesome. So there we go. This is our Valentine's Day 3-dimensional heart cake. And let me just grab maybe something I can set it on, just to get a better picture of it. I should have a display board here. So we'll move it over. Move it over to this guy. This I usually use just for cake dummies, you know, for displays. I don't use it that often, but it would look really cute on here. There we go. Let's see if that's sitting straight. And then you can go ahead and add some extra ribbon if you wanted to. Just to the bottom of your cake. And just put a bow in there. Not sure how that looks. There we go. Oh, we have a little bow there. Hopefully not to take away from the cake too much. And there we go, guys. Let me move it out because you can't see the whole cake now. So that is our Valentine.